Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Adil.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you for taking out time and joining us today. I am Adil Akhter, and along with me we have
Fatma Answer.
Before starting the interview, we would like you to grant us permission for the interview.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. We are a group of Global Perspectives O-level students from Beacon House School System, Bahia Town campus, conducting research under malnutrition. We would like you to please introduce yourself.
So, my name is Dr. Adil Akhter. I'm by profession a pediatrician. I'm also currently the director of the maternal neonatal child health program at the Indus Hospital and Health Network, and I oversee all such projects across the country.
Thank you. We appreciate your presence. Beginning with the interview, can you tell us a little about the current situation of malnutrition in Pakistan and how it compares internationally?
So, as you probably already know, that Pakistan is the fifth most populous country across the world, and we're currently in the low middle income group of countries. Keeping that in mind, the severity of malnutrition in Pakistan is very high. I won't go into numbers specifically, but what I'll definitely tell you is that we have a tremendously large proportion of children who are undernourished. We have about 9% of children who are overnourished, or what we sometimes call obese. But this is a very serious problem in Pakistan, and if something is not done about it soon, it will affect how our country may prosper in the future.
So, what do you think are the root causes of undernutrition?
There are many root causes of undernutrition in Pakistan specifically. One of the largest is the fact that a large number of our population are not food secure. When we talk about food security, what we mean is, does a family really know where they're going to get their next meal? How many families across Pakistan actually feel that they will be able to continue to get a well-balanced, nutritious meal over the next couple of months? Food security in Pakistan is very low. More than 60% of our population is food insecure. Because of the lack of availability and access to food, that means they can't afford that food, and they're not so well aware of what would be the right food choices, leads to our country being severely undernourished. In addition, the per capita income of our country is very low when we look at the overall world itself. So internationally, people earn much more as compared to what people earn in Pakistan.
How do you think a mother's nutrition affects a child's nutrition?
So if you think about it, the first couple of days of any human being is actually in the mother's womb. And so if you consider it, first 9 months of any baby's life actually starts from the mother. And the only way that child is getting nutrition is through the mother in the first 9 months of life. So if the mother is not well nourished, she may not be able to provide the necessary nutrients to the developing fetus, or what we, in simpler words, is the developing baby inside the mother's womb. And keeping that in mind, if the baby is undernourished during the fetal life is that time period when the baby is inside the mother, then that child has the likelihood to be born low birth weight, so will be less than average birth weight of a normal baby, and obviously result in many other problems. For example, if you look at folic acid deficiency, if the mother doesn't get enough folic acid, the baby's brain may not develop properly. the baby's spinal cord may not develop properly. Similarly, if there's a deficiency in iron in the mother, then the baby may become iron deficient. Similar with zinc, and similar with other micro and macronutrients.
How do you feel the recent flooding in Pakistan will affect nutrition in children in the upcoming years?
So, when we look at how much flooding has occurred in 2022, a significant area in Sindh and Balochistan have been affected by the floods. And in addition, some parts of Punjab as well as KB. If we look at where most of our wheat is grown, is in Sindh and Punjab. Most of our vegetables all come from the Sindh area, seasonal vegetables. Because the floods there's some immediate impacts, and then there's going to be some long-term impacts. Some of the immediate impacts are what you see right now is the high price of food items. So where previously you may have seen that some vegetables were running at 100 rupees a kilogram, now they're running at 400 or 500 rupees a kilogram. Similar to wheat, there's a scarcity of wheat now. There's worry that we may not have enough wheat moving forward to provide our population. Those are the immediate effects of the flooding. The long-term effects are that flooding has resulted in waterlogging of a lot of land. So land which typically was not saturated with water is now saturated with water. Where a lot of the rivers, when they overflowed, they brought along with them a lot of sand. So now the characteristics of the soil have actually changed. So previously, if they were suitable for specific crops, now they may not be suitable for those crops. So those are some long-term effects. And these effects may go on for the next 2 to 3 years in the availability of food. In addition, a lot of people's lifestyles have changed. A lot of people's income sources have actually been destroyed. People who had cattle, if you look at the statistics, more than 700,000 cattle or livestock across Pakistan have been wiped away because of these floods. And what that results in, these were assets to them. That's where they got their daily milk from, or that's what that generated some income for those families. Those are no longer there. So I think these floods have affected not only the availability of food items across Pakistan, they have made these food items much more expensive. So the accessibility of food items across Pakistan, and obviously this in turn will significantly affect the nutrition of our children and women moving forward.
Why do you feel that preventing malnutrition should be a priority for any government?
Governments invest in their population, because if you have a healthy population, you have a more productive nation. And when you have a more productive nation, these nations grow and go from developing nations to developed nations. Now, if we do not address, and also I just want to point out here that some types of undernutrition, like wasting, is reversible, but stunting is not reversible. So if we do not invest in it early, we will result later on in a population who has not been able to achieve their full potential. So if you have a malnourished child who is stunted, when they hit their teenage years or young adult years, if they're not able to achieve their full potential, the country may not grow as it otherwise could have grown. And thus it's extremely important for governments to invest in addressing the issue of malnutrition.
How does undernutrition affect the upcoming of a child?
So, undernutrition, if you think about it, it affects the development of the child. And when I say development, that really means social development of the child, the mental development of the child, when the child actually can start understanding, when they can actually start comprehending what's going on, when they can actually start speaking. If they're delayed, otherwise, they may not be able to achieve the right IQ level if they're severely malnourished. And so it significantly affects children in their upcoming years. They may be shorter than what they would have otherwise been. They may not be able to run around or be as active because of the lack of nutrients. They may be more susceptible to diseases. So because they're undernourished, they'll be more likely to have diarrhea, have infections, have pneumonias, and that will significantly play into their future life.
In your opinion, what is the best way to prevent malnutrition in our country?
So, if you ask me, the best way to actually address malnutrition in Pakistan, and specifically undernutrition in Pakistan, is really to address food security, is really to address the social determinants of health. And those social determinants include socioeconomic factors of the community, the availability of food items. So if you have a bumper harvest crop of rice, then there's going to be more rice available for the masses, and the prices will come down. So you'll get more productivity. So at a mass level, if you look at how to prevent malnutrition, you need to really address food security and education about the right choices of food. Because a lot of countries who, many people ask this question, well, a lot of countries who are developing countries and maybe in the low middle income countries, they still suffer from obesity. Why is that? And one of the reasons is the choice of foods. They prefer low calorie food, high calorie but low nutrient foods because they're just easily available. Yeah.
Can you give us any example of malnutrition which you came across in any public sector?
So I can tell you a very, very interesting story. We had a 7-month-old and two 7-month-old twins come to us. One was much more severely malnourished than the other. When we asked the mother what happened, she said her husband lost his job while she was expecting, so they didn't have enough to eat at home. When the babies were born, since they were twins, she could only breastfeed one of them, and the other she used to give cow or buffalo milk. And because normally cows and buffalo milk is not suitable for babies, so she used to add extra water to dilute it. And when she diluted it, it obviously gave less amount of calories than required. So despite the fact that she really cared about both those twins who were 7 months old, both of them were severely malnourished. She came to our hospital with the twins. We entered them into our treatment program, and within 2 to 3 weeks they started really gaining weight, and the mother all of a sudden tremendously happy about that. And it changes the whole scenario for any family when that happens.
From our survey, we concluded that an unhealthy society leads to limited work opportunities. How is that?
So an unhealthy society means that, again, majority of the population may not achieve their full potential. And that full potential means full economic potential. And if they don't achieve their full economic potential, then the country doesn't grow as it should or develop as it should. So that's the most common reason.
So as you said that the two 7 months old kids, they were malnutrition. So one of them was breastfed by their mother, while the other had cow milk. So how were they both malnourished?
So because the baby who was breastfed was obviously the mother didn't have enough to eat. So normally when a mother is breastfeeding her child, she requires 500 extra calories on top of what she would normally require. So let's suppose I need, well, I'm a bad example, but if any mother needs 2100 calories in a day, if that mother is breastfeeding, then technically every day she needs 2600 calories, and only then will be able to provide adequate nutrition to her baby by breastfeeding. And that's why, interestingly, one of the best ways to lose weight after a pregnancy for mothers is to actually breastfeed their children, because it helps, so it balances out like that. And that's why, referring to your question, well, one you understand that was on cows and buffalo milk and were diluted, so they were getting less calories, but the other twin was also undernourished or malnourished because of the fact that the mother didn't have adequate nutrition.
So, in your opinion, is undernutrition a curable disease?
Like I said, undernutrition, if detected early, and when I say detected and treated early, and that typically means before 2 years of age, then it won't result in stunting. Once a child starts getting stunted, then that becomes irreversible. So it's preventable if it's picked up early, addressed early, and best thing to do is actually prevent malnutrition overall. But it is reversible if it's picked up in the first 2 years of life. After 2 years of life, there's a greater tendency that malnourishment, if it's chronic, will lead to stunting, and stunting is irreversible.
Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule for us and for this informative interview. Before we end our session, do you have any questions for us?
No, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. I think this is a very, very important topic to actually address. A lot of people have some misconceptions about it, but I'm glad you guys are taking out the effort to actually address those misconceptions. And thank you.